Bitcoin broke down beneath this ascending channel I had on here. The miners are suffering again. They went from diverging to being right in line with Bitcoin once more. Let's also circle back to Palantir. I haven't talked about that in a little while. I'd also like to do a little update on SoFi as well as Block. And let's take the end of the day looking at Tesla. So Bitcoin broke down beneath this ascending channel here. We are now back on the descend here. Now, will we come back down to this $60,000 level? Will we break through it, or will we turn around somewhere about where we currently are and turn right back up again? Now, if you remember in yesterday's video, I was saying we'd probably come down to this area here, 63,500. We did go a little bit lower than that, so now I'm going to get a little bit deeper in on this chart, a little grittier on this. So this is the daily chart. Let's go down to the two. Let's start at the 4. Start at the 4-hour chart. And what do we see here? So on the 4-hour chart, we are seeing a little bit of a head and shoulders. Let's go right here. Shoulders, head, shoulder. And the bottom of this head and shoulders is about these two candles right here. So that's about 61,761. That's where I'm expecting this thing to go down to at a minimum, assuming that it keeps going. Now we are beneath the neckline on this thing. So we're just under the neckline on this thing. And if it stays down here for another couple hours, I would expect it to end the day somewhere around 61, or at least get down to here throughout the day, down to 61,761. So that's what's going on with Bitcoin right now. It does look like it wants to move down. Now, of course, if this descending channel, which if we remember, descending channels tend to break to the upside, if this descending channel decides to stop descending and break above this line here, this descending line, we will be looking at coming back up to that 64,500 range before we hit some resistance and try to move back up again. But right now I'm looking at this and it is looking like it kind of wants to go a little deeper. Remember, now RSI is oversold. We're not getting a bottom on the VIX fix, but crypto likes to go pretty deep in the red or the green on the RSI. So I'm not really super convinced that's the end of it just because of that. Now the 2-hour is showing that a bottom. Let's take a look at the SMAs, see how those are looking. We're at the bottom of the Bollinger on the 2-hour, so we probably want to fluctuate back up to the center of this descending channel before trying to come back down. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. 4-hour is also on the bottom of it, so it's going to want to come probably up a little more before it comes back down again. But I mean, like I've said before, it could blast right through it. I don't think it will. Let's take a look here. Yeah, but the daily we could go as low as 60,500 on the Bollinger. So we are going to probably see a little bit of a bounce where we currently are. Yeah, and the Bollinger Bands just get tighter and tighter as I get smaller and smaller in this time frame. We're likely to see a little bit of a bounce where we currently are, maybe come up to the 20 on the hour here, about 64,000 before trying to make another run down at this level of 63,000 and see if we can't break below it on Bitcoin. So expect like a little bit of a bounce before another dip on this today, unless we break out of this tight descending channel on lower time frames. Okay, so that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin right now. It is printing a bit of a head and shoulders there. That does have a bottoming area down here around 61,761. All right, let's take a look at the miners. Real quick update. So remember how I said CleanSpark would likely come back to 18? Well, guess what? It came right back to 18 this morning. This is looking a bit toppy here. This is a 2-hour chart that we're looking at right now. So this chart here, honestly, it reminds me of back here in March, late March. It reminds me of that. This doji candle followed by a big drop right here. It reminds me exactly of that. Now, I am thinking we could come lower, maybe to 1720-ish before we start flattening out again. Hopefully, we don't go all the way back down to 15, but I would be looking at potentially picking up more CleanSpark underneath $18 if it dips below $18. I don't think it'll stay there very long. And of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. Simply for informational and entertainment purposes in relation to these stocks and assets. So let's have a look here. What could this possibly be doing here? Where could we turn around from here on CleanSpark? Honestly, I think we need to see Bitcoin do a bit of a turnaround. It is falling right back in line with Bitcoin and being a bit of a levered play on it to the downside right now. We were diverging for a few days and that ended. This is looking a little bit like a dilution candle, to be honest. I feel like that could potentially be what's going on there. We may be seeing some dilution a little bit, but it could also just be that Bitcoin came down a little bit. Reminder, in 5 days, the Hong Kong ETF goes live, so we should be seeing some inflows from that as well. And if it's anything like the American version, we'll see a bit of a dip for 3 or 4 days and then just a total rip. So we're looking for a dip into a rip on these after that. So it's about 5 days out. And then after that, so about 10 days from now, I'd be expecting the rip to come in on that and see these things flying higher off of more expensive Bitcoin. Let's take a look at some of the other miners. Let's see what is Mara doing today. It's probably down pretty bad. It's down 5%. Came as low as 1730, 1746, and currently it's right at $18. It is still inside of this ascending channel though, so I'm not too worried about it. Let's see how Riot fared. Riot's been a standout lately. It is also down 5%, but it is still hanging out on this ascending dotted line I've got there. This descending channel is gone now. Let's get rid of that. We're in this block right here. We got into that block, rejected at that block. Now it doesn't want to go back below this resistance block right here. Let me show, or support block right here. It doesn't want to go back below this. This is what we're looking for. We're probably going to get stuck in this area right here between these two blocks before we start moving back up for a while on Riot. Currently $18, or not 18, that was Mar. It's currently $11.22. We had a low here of $10.90. We need to get back up to and above $12 on Riot to start getting super bullish on this thing. Let's take a look at the SMAs real quick. What's going on here? We're right at the 5-day. We got the 50 and the 200 above us at 12.18 and 12.60 respectively. That's also where the Bollinger Band is hanging out. We got to get up and above those things and just rock it at some point in order for Riot to really take off. Let's take a look at BitDigital. BitDigital is going to have earnings here very soon. I think it was today. Did it come out today? Not yet. I don't know exactly when it's coming out. It doesn't really say, but it is coming out today. When these earnings come out, I will drop another video. So expect 2 videos today. I will talk about this again. Now, we are down 5% as the overall market is. I think even if these earnings are good now with Bitcoin trending down, I'm not sure how big the result will be in terms of price action on BitDigital. We might get some flat price action even if it is good, since Bitcoin is down over 8% today. So keep that in mind. We are back in this descending channel, hanging out right on the megaphone line there. We really need to stay above this thing to keep moving on up on BitDigital. Let's take a look at Bitfarms real fast here. Bitfarms is down only 3.88%. That's really not so bad. It's the best of the 4 that I've looked at so far. It came all the way down to 191, and we are currently at 198. So we are below $2 again. We went down and below that descending channel. Is it going to be this channel now? That's right there. Is this the channel we're going to stay in now for a little while and come back down to this like 180 level on Bitfarms? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's leave it there on the chart. I figured it would come into this sort of channel at some point, and it sure did. This type of channel. I had it in the wrong spot, but I knew it would happen. Let's see if it continues down further on this or not. Things are going to show weakness until Bitcoin starts showing some strength here, or we start getting some revenue numbers coming in on the miners that look really good despite the Bitcoin price. At that point, I think we'll see it starting to take off. One last thing for the warrants I want to talk, or the warrants, the miners I want to talk about is these Cipher warrants. We got a blow off top yesterday. You can see it right here. That is a big blow off top doji candle, and followed through by today's big negative move down to $1.20. So yesterday we were as high as 165. Today we are down at 120. This thing whipsaws all over the place. I am feeling pretty confident about my 96, 97 cent entry down here in a couple of days. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for it to kind of get paused out here for 3 or 4 days, waiting for that Hong Kong ETF to come in, tank Bitcoin for 3 or 4 days, and that will take the miners down. And I want to see this come back down to about that 96, 97 cent range on CIFRW before I have a buy order for 1,000 down there, just waiting for these to get down there, and then I'd be looking for it to come back up to like that 130, 140. Maybe this time I'll try to hold for the 160 level before I sell. We'll see. But that's all I've got for the miners for you today. I will be back later when BitDigital releases its earnings to see what the results are and talk about how that is being affected by the market. Last thing I want to do today is look at Palantir. This is a 2-hour chart. I don't want to look at that. I want to look at a daily chart. Let's see the day. Daily chart is looking bad. Honestly, it's looking bad. So we are outside of this ascending channel here. It is yeah, we're outside of it. We've been outside of it before. Honestly, it's kind of like a midline for like all the peaks and troughs there. So it's really not like the most closely followed ascending channel I've got on my charts. Right now, we are in this descending move though. We're in this descending move right now. I think we'll stay there probably until earnings on May 6th. I think that's where Palantir will get its chance to prove to Wall Street that it deserves that $25 valuation. And we'll see it shoot back up to that $25 very quickly after earnings, just like it has the last couple of times where we had the earnings, right? That was back on February 5th, big gap up. Where is this earnings? Earnings back here on November 2nd, big gap up. Look, it bleeds off and then pops up. Bleeds off into earnings, pops up. What are we doing right now? This time bleeding off into earnings, and then what are we going to do? We're going to pop up. I do have some calls sold on my shares right now that I will be selling before earnings because I am expecting earnings to be good and I am expecting there to be a pretty big pop up after earnings on Palantir. Now, of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I could be totally wrong. They could have bad earnings and we could see this thing come and gap fill all the way down to $17. So keep that in mind. There is risk. The downside risk right now is $17. Like if we come down to 20 and 20 doesn't hold, we're coming down to this area down here. I'll put it as a box right here. We're going to come down to this zone on Palantir. If $20 doesn't hold, we're going to come all the way down to like 18, between 18 and $17 is what will very likely happen if $20 does not hold. And that could, and $20 will not hold if we get bad earnings on Palantir. Like Wall Street is looking for any reason to sell this thing off because they don't understand Palantir. They don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand how fantastic this business actually is. So that's how that is. But every time we get good earnings, like back here, May 8th, gap up. So this is very much another one back here. Good earnings was on February 13th, 2023, we had gap up. Now, when they get bad earnings, like they did on August 7th, if they get bad earnings, it's not really a gap down, but there is a waterfall kind of experience. And I think in this case, if that happened, we would be coming down to that $17 to $18 level if we get bad earnings on May 6th. So keep an eye on that. I currently am playing it to a short-term downside as we get closer and closer to earnings. I will be selling that downside perspective before earnings with the expectation that price will rise sharply with earnings. That's my personal perspective on this. And of course, it is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Let's take a look at Square. Not Square, it's Block. I keep saying Square. It's Block. It used to be Square. It's Block. What is going on with Block? So we got out of this ascending channel that broke. We went our descending channel. We went to the upside, and now it's breaking again today with Bitcoin. If you notice something, this line here, right here, starting on April 19th, that represents the Bitcoin halving. What happened since the halving? Well, one, we went up. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Bitcoin didn't do tons after the halving. Let me go to a one-day chart. Bitcoin didn't do tons after the halving, but it looks very similar to the Bitcoin chart, doesn't it? Doesn't Square look very, very similar to the Bitcoin chart? Now, there are a couple of things going on here with, not Square, it's Block. With Block, one, they have a big treasury of Bitcoin. It rivals RIOT's treasury of Bitcoin. So they were getting that Bitcoin surprise, like MicroStrategy benefits from. The other thing that happened was the other day, it's like 2-3 days ago. And let me bring up the article. So this was just the other day here, April 24th. This was yesterday, actually. Well, it wasn't announced yesterday, but this article's from yesterday. Jack Dorsey, that's CEO of Block, is building a Bitcoin mining system. They are developing a chip, a system that they developed a mining chip. It's a 3 nanometers, the smallest mining chip all around, is what they developed. I don't really understand what a financing like a buy now pay later business is doing, building chips, but you know, whatever, they're doing it and people got excited about it. That's all I have to say about that. But they are looking at becoming a manufacturer of Bitcoin mining rigs. So you know, Bitmain better watch out, I guess, because Block is coming for you. So they are getting more entrenched into the Bitcoin narrative. So we will be seeing the price action of Block become much, much more sensitive to Bitcoin now that the halving is behind us. Now that they are digging in deeper into that Bitcoin narrative, we are going to see this thing. And when Bitcoin takes off, Block will also take off, and it will take off to a larger degree. You can see here it's a 2x right now because Block is down 3.53%. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is down only 1.47%. Let's take a look at MSTR, MicroStrategy. See how far down they are. They are down 3%, similar to Square. Actually, does this look very similar? It has April 19th, we had that build up and then that breakdown. Exactly like Block. So if you want to find something similar in price action like that to MicroStrategy in terms of its sensitivity to Bitcoin, Block could be something that has a lower price point and has a similar action. Now, of course, you can buy fractionals of MicroStrategy. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. Simply, I'm pointing out that block going forward is likely to have a similar price action to MicroStrategy, given that it is acting off the same catalyst as MicroStrategy is currently. We do need to see a breakage of this line right here. I just saw this line right here. We need to break above this thing. Once we break above this thing, if this comes a little lower and then starts curling around, it'll be a really ugly inverse head and shoulders. And that could, if that broke that neckline, we'd be looking to come up to about $81. But anyways, yeah, it came down to my price action down here around 69, came down to 69 right on halving day. And from there, it's been up, up, up. It went as high as 76, and now we're back down to 71. I think that this will continue on until Bitcoin turns around, honestly. So once Bitcoin starts turning around, I'd be looking for block to turn around as well. Let's take a look at SOFI, the SOFI play. So we are going into earnings on Monday, April 29th. We were having a really good day too. I was actually making money in this, and then today kind of wiped all of that away with this bad candle that we got right now. It looks like we're getting oversold on the 2-hour pretty quickly here on SOFI. We had I was looking at this as an inverse head and shoulders, and it failed, so that's not great. I need to see it hold here at about 726. Otherwise, I'd be having some concerns about my play upward for earnings here on SOFI. So that's what's going on with SOFI. It's kind of breaking down. It's not looking super great. I think if we look, let me go to the daily. The daily, yeah, it's kind of just vacillating here. It's looking like it wants to stay in this zone right about here until earnings. And then after earnings, that's where I'm expecting it to come back up to the top of this range around like 8, maybe even 850 is what I'm looking for, assuming earnings is good. I did take a small gamble position on this earnings event here on Monday, which is going to be pre-market. So when I do that video, those results will already be in on Monday. That's what's going on with SoFi, though. It's not turning out great at the moment. We're getting a pretty bad sell-off. I wonder if that's a broader market thing. Let's take a look at SPY real quick. Take a look at SPY. Is it a broader market thing? It is a broader market thing. SPY broke down. SPY is breaking down. We had that break of this ascending channel here. Let me get rid of this line right there. Go away. Yeah, break of that ascending channel. It looks like SPY wants to come back and test 493 again, which means we're dragging down basically the whole market right now as a result of that. Last thing today, Tesla. Tesla's actually up a little bit, 0.5% right now. We are hanging out here. The people, Wall Street loved that earnings report. They absolutely adored it. We're going to hang out in this area here. We need to get outside of this shaded area before I feel like it's going up or down, to be honest. I feel like the market is still digesting what Elon had to say and are deciding whether or not that they can pull this off. I am looking for, as I mentioned yesterday, that return of the CEO sort of story like we saw on Meta last year when Zuckerberg came back from whatever adventures he was on with the metaverse and said, all right, we're going to focus back on the core of the business. And then they just took off from there and just absolutely rocketed. I think that's what I'm looking for here on Tesla right now. I'm looking for the return of Elon, okay, we're going to focus on our core business of Tesla and get back to what you all expect from us. And then once we start feeling like that's really going to happen, I think we're going to see a breakage of this descending line here, a breakage of this descending channel we've been in for quite a while. And once that happens, we're looking at coming back up to very quickly back up to about $200. Yeah, right, very quickly up to about $200. And then if we break through 200, we'll be looking at trying to break up to that 230 to 260 level on Tesla. I am still looking for a potential move down a little bit towards that 150 range. I'm looking for a little bit of a dip to fit 150 before we get that rip up past this zone right here. I'll draw another box right here before we get that sort of rip up through this resistance zone right here. I would like to see a little bit of a liquidity build and then a rocket, or you know what, I'll also take a bull flag right where we currently are between 168 and 157. I'd be happy to just watch that become a bull flag and then break out from there as well. But I am looking for, personally, I'm looking for a little bit of a dip, this RSI to come back and test 50 again, and then jump up from there and start just rocketing up towards that $200 level sometime this summer. That's what I'm looking for on Tesla. I am still just waiting. I haven't really done anything with it yet. I am just waiting at this time. So with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe and have a profitable day.